Hey, welcome back. It's Shireen here with another Adobe tutorial. This time we're working in Adobe InDesign. We're continuing our Getting Started in InDesign series, working with basic type and images, InDesign being our container where we bring in all that artwork from the other programs and really gives us the ability to kind of just focus only on the layout, the page design, and the typography, really designing and manipulating your typography. So today's this tutorial is really going to focus just on that typography piece, as I was just saying. So let's take a look at type in InDesign. This is a very basic beginner workflow, but it's the first places you really want to look to get some fun, some nice effects. So I'm going to go ahead. We had already kind of started, and I'm going to go ahead and set myself up maybe with a column just here, just to the side of this nice lady over here with our type tool. Oops. And I'm going to come over and fill that with some placeholder text. I had already actually been working with red just now, so let me go ahead and change that color back to black. Okay, great. So now let's take a look. When I'm working with type in InDesign, as long as I'm selecting my type tool, my control panel, as we know, is dynamic, so it's automatically changing based on the task at hand. If you don't have this control panel up like I do, you want to go under Window, Control. I definitely couldn't live without my control panel because it's just a lot easier than bit by bit going around and opening up all these panels. If you did want to open up the panels, though, that would be under Type and Tables, and you can get paragraph and character panels from here. But you'll be seeing me work with my control panel today. So between the control panel and the paragraph panel is where I can get some really powerful changes in a short amount of time. So let me go ahead, for example, and imagine that this is sort of a period. I'm going to start this next paragraph, so I'll tell you why. Okay, so let's imagine that. First of all, I think it's already set to italic under Arial. I'm choosing Arial here. We always want to work with a type family that has a lot of options, right? So we see these with the triangles have more options for the font family, and that gives us more freedom to be able to create more emphasis, but also that consistency of working with that same typeface. I would say really sort of as a basic general rule, we don't want to work with more than 2 to 3 different typefaces per presentation. Some people are even more conservative and only go for 1 to 2, but you really want to vary the font family, vary the scale, size, spacing, color, etc., so that you can create emphasis. So let's say, for example, this first word here, we haven't set in our real type yet. We're just working with placeholder text. But let's say, for example, this first word, we want it to be a little bit bigger. I'm not quite sure. Is it 24 point? Is it 48 point? I'm not really sure. So maybe just by eye, I just want to remind you that you can visually adjust the size of your type by going to Shift+Command period, or Shift+Command comma. And that's a quick way that we can adjust the size of that type. The next thing I want to do, which is really kind of cool, I want to just show you that within a paragraph, let me make some space actually to my paragraph. I just want you to look at the difference between this first paragraph maybe and this second paragraph. Look at the first to the second, yeah? So taking a look at this first paragraph, I just want to show you that you could very easily, through the character panel, all of this is through my character panel, that second icon there is the paragraph panel. So first, through the character panel, I would look at the spacing of my type. So first of all, I'm going to look at the vertical spacing. So instead of it being quite so tight like that, maybe I open it up a bit. I think 14 was 18. Oh yeah, that's much better, right? And then also I can choose the vertical or the horizontal spacing. So instead of 100, let's do, instead of 200, that might be radical. Let's do 150. Oops, extreme, 150. Okay, so if you see, let's take that. I mean, that looks a lot more readable. And so it's kind of up to you to kind of decide, you know, maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe 125 would be just more than enough. Oops. Yeah, so a little bit goes a long way. Spacing, your kerning and your tracking, it's called, working with your vertical and horizontal spacing between your type. Something else that's a little bit interesting to note, if we zoom in, you know, for example, some of these letters look a little bit closer to each other. Like look at the I and the B look a little bit closer to each other. And maybe the O and the F don't look quite as close because of the shape of the forms themselves, the shape of the letters. So I just wanted to show you that this is how it looks sort of with that natural spacing. One of these other controls up here is talking about this is sort of how it actually is based on the metrics of the typeface. This is how we can adjust it visually to kind of look like the letters a little bit more regular despite the actual form of the letter. So this is all places where I would just do my very, very first basic check, my first check on spacing, vertically, horizontally, and optically versus metric. And then, you know, you can also, of course, grab some type and you can adjust the height, or you can adjust the width. Okay, so maybe leave that like that, kind of interesting. The next thing I want to do is jump over to my paragraph panel. I'm going to select that first letter, jump over to my paragraph panel right up here. And from there, another one of my tabs, if you look here, see this A that has that arrow? That's the drop cap. So I can come here and I can choose to drop cap my first letter, and that's kind of cool. If I come back over to control, to character, I can make it bold, right? And now I can kind of, let me, decrease the space there, right? So now I can kind of start to create quite a bit of styling very quickly and easily. So let's say I sort of decide I'm going to kind of cheat. Okay, so this is my next paragraph. So it automatically defaults to that drop cap. So actually, if I don't want that to happen anymore, I can go back to paragraph and reduce it back down. So now if this is a general idea of sort of how I want that spacing to go for the rest of these, right? For the rest of these paragraphs, I don't want them quite so tight. I do like that bigger spacing. So if I want that wider spacing, what I can do right now is I can do something called a paragraph style. So I can style the rest of the paragraphs with that same amount of spacing. So what I can do is come under Window, Styles. I can do character and or paragraph styles. Let's start with a paragraph style. Since we're doing a wholesale change to all these paragraphs, I can kind of select this, and we know that it's been adjusted vertically and horizontally, and I've already done all these changes, so I can come right away and say, call this a paragraph style. Okay, so I can double click and it's called paragraph 1. I can, oops, sorry, mine's very slow, my computer. So I can go ahead and just say wider text, yeah? Now once I do that, the wider text, I can go ahead now and select, for example, the next couple paragraphs and say just get that wider text treatment, which is really nice instead of having to go one by one. And I can do that throughout the document, many, many pages later, and just do these big wholesale changes, right? And that's kind of great. What happened though as a result of us giving the wider text treatment, oh, let me show you, by the way, character, just if it's one character. Maybe just one word, for example, wants to get some emphasis. So if we wanted to do that, let's say, for example, we change it to bold and we change the size to be a little bit bigger. And we change it actually to bold italic. I really want you to see that it looks different, yeah? So in this way, certain ideas can be emphasized. So I'm going to go ahead and just select that one. And under character, not for the whole paragraph, but just for certain words, I can say make that a new style. I could name that, call it emphasis. Yeah, and so that now if I find another word that needs that emphasis, I can come over and quickly and easily change that. So make sure that I'm using that exact same spacing. It's starting to look great. Okay, so now what happened when I spaced out my my words is that I have some overset text. So I want to show you how you can thread that text over to another column. What I did was I went ahead already on another page and set up another column with my type tool. I just made a text box ready and waiting. So what I'm going to do is come over to that overset text icon. Very easy. I just need to click right on that icon. Okay, you see the rest of that type is loaded onto my cursor. Okay, come right over to where it needs to get dropped in. Oops. Oh, well, we need to do it. Okay, so pick it up, drop it in. There you go. Okay, so that arrow kind of shows you that the text has been threaded over to the next column. Okay, so that's thread texting. What happens now with the rest of this box? It's too big. This text box is way too big for this type. It could be annoying if I start putting images there and that box is there. So what I can do is I can double click. See that bottom right corner? Double click. Oops. There you go. So the box will automatically now conform. There you go. To the center of the page. Yep, great. Okay, and once again, if I don't want that, let me just make sure I give all of that the wider, see that? Wider text. Yeah, great. Okay, so if I don't want those hyphens, remember that's under, okay, that's under paragraph, hyphenate. Okay, so what's there left to do? What's left to do is it's time to go ahead and finish wrapping up the last little bits and pieces. This one too is going to get that uncheck hyphenate. And I think we're in really good shape. We've started to make some really nice changes. And I think this one is going to get impact. I think this one should be the same as the other page. There we go. Okay, so when I'm ready to save it all, File, Package. And go ahead and do File, Package. Go ahead and save. All right. Everything is going to go into this folder. The fonts, the linked graphics, the linked images, a legacy file, and a PDF. Replace that old file. Okay, and we should be good to go. When we open up that folder, we're going to find all the links that we used, all the information about the type, and we can continue to be able to work with our styles, to be able to work with our character and paragraph panels, working with the kerning and the tracking, which is that spacing, and pretty much threading our text so that it's flowing really nicely and consistently throughout our document. So just want to show you that package before we leave for our next video. We've got more coming your way. MIFF, there we go. There's our second folder. All of our fonts that we used are there. All of the images that are associated with the document are ready to be carried over. We've got a legacy file, an INDESIGN file, and a PDF. All right, so thanks for watching this video. Be sure to ask any questions in the comments below, like and subscribe, get lots of practice, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.